Good morning. Welcome back. Today, why Testament Records vinyl reissues from the EMI catalog are such a safe bet for audiophiles to purchase. We'll answer that question in a second, but first, a big thank you for the continued support. A like and subscription go a long way. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to comment. We love reading your comments and interacting with our viewers. And please join us for our Everything Classical Music live stream Wednesdays at 5 p.m. PST. Thank you. Recordings from RCA Victor Living Stereo and Decca, among others, from the Stereo Golden Age recording, 1957 to the late 60s, are highly priced and can be very expensive for near-mint originals on the used market. The other great recording company producing legendary recordings loved by audiophiles, EMI, went a step further. When RCA succumbed to Dynagroove and Decca decamped to a Dutch pressing plant, EMI continued producing the same great records pressed at the Hayes plant right up to the dawn of the digital releases in 1979. As such, EMI gave us hundreds of records of the same artistic and technical quality of those they produced in the Golden Age, and not forgetting early Columbia's, the precursor to EMI, and the fabulous mono recordings from the late 40s to the first stereo recordings. What an incredible catalog from which to choose. Walter Legg, the famous head of EMI, producer and husband to Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, was instrumental in forming the Philharmonic Orchestra and signing artists such as Herb von Karajan, Guido Cantelli, Richard Strauss, and Toscanini. He demanded and got the highest artistic and technical achievements, but was also very protective of his interests. I imagine EMI, long absorbed by Universal Music in 2012, has the same protective instincts and a very complex ownership chain. Or maybe they just want too much money for the license. A seemingly inexhaustible catalog never seemed to affect classic records' acoustic sounds, with RCA or Speaker's Corner for Decca, both pressing knockout reissues of classical recordings. But for EMI, bupkis. Hold that thought. We do have high-Q supercuts, introduced in about 2012. If, like me, you purchased the Beecham Einhaltenleben and read the PR, all titles cut at Abbey Road Studios from the original stereo analog master tapes with the Neumann VM S80 lathe fed an analog pre-cut signal from a specially adapted Studio A80 tape deck with additional playback head, pressed on 180-gram vinyl on the original EMI presses at the Vinyl Factory in Hayes, England. Wow. You'd think you'd be in vinyl reissue Nirvana. Wrong. The next 6 or 7 I purchased after the Einhaltenleben were dreadful. The sound sucked out of each record. Flat, uninspiring, with no atmosphere, sparkle, or true dynamic contrasts. So, why with the same PR? Abbey Road Studios, original stereo analog master tapes, Neumann lathe, etc., etc. Do the Testaments, on the whole, sound terrific? Lifelike, with atmosphere, dynamic, with wonderful orchestral timbre, compared to the dullest ditchwater high Qs. Buggered if I know, considering they're pressed at the same EMI plant in Hayes that pressed a million classical titles from 1952 on. Some of the Testaments are out of print, all the standard suspects, but many are always in print, available from the very efficient Testament website. I have no financial affiliation, but Testaments ship well and fast for a reasonable cost. So let's get to the good stuff, some great vinyl recommendations. So let's begin with the PR sent in one of the records from Testament and see what's going on here. These are a lot of their releases. As I mentioned, some are out of print. The Klemperer Bruckner 4 is out of print. The Klemperer Mahler 4 is out of print. What a surprise. They're great. The Benedetti Michelangeli Philharmonia Rachmaninoff Concerto No. 4 is out of print. A fantastic record. And the Andrei Previn is out of print. Most of the other ones, though, are in print, which is wonderful. Have a look and see which ones you like. I do have originals of some of them, and no matter how great Testament's technology is and the careful way they repress things, and compared to high Q, the difference is unbelievable. The originals do have a magnificence about them, a beauty about them that are hard to resist. This is the famous Richard Strauss 4 Last Songs with Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, Walter Legg's wife. This is a second pressing sax, 52-58, not cheap. So why not get it on Testament? and it's going to be a very good pressing, I would think. I haven't heard it. This is the Michelangelo, original EMI. Wonderful, wonderful performance. ASD 255. And my last original is the Andrei Previn Rachmaninoff Second Symphony. This one is not that expensive. It's pretty standard ASD 2889 postage stamp. I cannot recommend them without hearing them, but I would imagine that Testament did a good job, as they've done on the ones that I've purchased. So if you don't want to spend $100 on the Schwarzkopf or $30 on the Previn, you can spend a little bit less at Testament. So let's go through the ones that I've got. And some you've seen before, so I'll just talk very briefly about them. The two Bruckners, I've spoken about the Bruckner 8. Absolutely wonderful, very powerful, beautiful performance by the Vienna Philharmonic and Carl Schuricht with the Demi-Lune HMV. By the way, the covers and the labels are exquisite on Testament. Very beautifully done. As good as any other company. There's the Bruckner 9 with Schuricht, also very, very beautiful. And from the original Cream HMV stereophonic label. Both highly recommended. Probably the best performances, or they're certainly my favorite performances. But I've never heard originals, but the Testaments are very, very good. This is also excellent. This is the Elgar Violin Concerto with the great violinist Ida Hendel. Lived in Montreal for many years with Adrian Bolt, who it doesn't get any better for Elgar than Adrian Bolt. For the London Philharmonic, I would say there are other performances that are probably even better. Pinkas Zuckerman is my favorite, but it's on a dreadful CBS pressing. Even Pinky's performance, which is so outstanding, can't save that recording. It's not good. But this is a very fine recording. You're going to get a very good straight-ahead performance, straight-ahead interpretation, played very, very well, in very, very nice sound, and the pressing's very good. There is an EMI with Hugh Bean, who was the leader of the Philharmonic Orchestra, and his is very fine. But I think they're hard to come by and they can be expensive. But this, for the price, excellent. Okay, next up, the Battle of the Beethovens. Do you know what they are? I think most people know what they are. It's not Heifetz. The Heifetz recording is very fine, but these two I think are better. I think these are the two best ones. And one is with the French National Orchestra under André Cloten, and that is with Oistrakh, his very famous recording, absolutely spectacular, stereo EMI. The green EMI label is very beautiful. Again, beautifully done covers. Well, what can we say about this performance? First of all, the pressing is probably the best. The two Beethovens, I would say, the best pressings from Testament I've heard. They're remarkably good. The opening four taps on the timpani, the resonance is beautiful, the kettle rings, the pitch is outstanding, and of course, Oistrakh's famous tone is absolutely glorious. And I can recommend this as a number one choice for represses if you don't have an original. Originals, they go for silly money. And the other Beethoven, which is equally astounding, is the famous Leonard Cohen Orchestra, the Paris Conservatoire Orchestra, conducted by Mahler's son-in-law, Constantin Silvestri. Constantin Silvestri. There you go. The Paris Conservatoire sound great. I think I did some research. I think both of these were recorded in Salle Wagram or Salle Vagram. I'm not sure which it is. It's a kind of a big ballroom in Paris. It looks like it has beautiful acoustics. And they were recorded there. And again, the timpani four taps at the beginning, very telling. The same thing, beautifully played by this time the Paris Conservatoire Orchestra, not the French National Orchestra. Probably many of the same players. Anyway, just a remarkably good performance, equal to the Oistrakh. If I had to choose one, I just couldn't. They're both magnificent. There's the green Columbia label. And these are my most recent buys. I will be getting a few more, Probably a few more Kogans. I'm going to get the Tchaikovsky, I think, and probably his Mendelssohn. But this is a very wonderful performance of Don Quixote and Till Eulenspiegel by Richard Strauss, with Paul Tortelier on cello and Giusto Caponi on viola. But the Berlin Philharmonic sound magnificent here, and Kemper is just king for Richard Strauss. Anyway, this is a cream label EMI stereophonic ASD 326, and it's beautifully played and has an equally beautiful recording. And this pressing is equal to the Beethoven pressings that I was telling you about, just flawless. Just beautiful. This is an easy first choice. I know that there's a Carry-On with Fournier, which I love. Unfortunately, it's on DG, which means the recording is not quite as good. But Tortelier owns this piece. He really does. I mean, you think it'd be Rostropovich, and then, maybe Fournier, but Tortelier is magnificent in the piece. At the end, when Don Quixote is dying, plot spoiler, sorry, it's just heartbreaking. Beautiful. And finally, the most interesting pressing I've received in a little while. I actually chose this because of the cover. I wasn't really, that fussed with La Laisienne and Carmen. I played them about 3,000 times and conducted it umpteen times. And I thought, do I need another one of these? But this is absolutely superb in different ways. I had a really good listen, and I don't think it's going to go on the dream list. Because the recording, first of all, it's cut very loud. So you're going to have to turn this down. And as it's very loud, it can get a little bit rough around the edges. I think some of the distortion from the kind of worn tapes have come through a little bit. It doesn't destroy the performance or the recording. It's very lovely in many, many parts. But there's some things on here that I think the pressing is telling you about the tape condition. Orchestra. Paris Conservatoire Orchestra was formed in the 1800s for teachers of the Paris Conservatoire and some of their gifted students. It's a wonderful orchestra. It has very unique timbres from the woodwinds, especially. Maurice Allard on the French bassoon, which is a completely different sound than the German bassoons you're used to hearing. And it also has on it, it has on it, on the very famous flute parts, I'm not sure if you can see that. There it is. Michel Desbostes on flute, one of the world's great flute players. And he sounds absolutely glorious on this recording. So yeah, I would buy it just because first of all, the cover is incredible. And it's a wonderful performance, very gutsy, lots of power, lots of energy, maybe too much. So that's it. Testament, really knocking out of the park with the choices. You can get the famous Dupré Elgar, and I've mentioned the Schwartzkopf songs. Some amazing records. Now, some of them are out of print, so just keep checking back. There's a lady who works in the office there named Louise, and she's so on top of things as far as getting emails back, and if there's a problem with the record, replacing the record. It's just, it's a very good company to do business with. I have no financial affiliation with them. Just for me to you, I'm recommending them because EMI have so many great records that need reissuing. So thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video.